All right, Christmas wish list time. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're a couple days away. So here's a wish list that I put together last night, not in any order of like importance, but just things that if I were the Padres, I'd be wishing for this Christmas. So first one here, acquire a starting caliber outfielder. Profar's on the market still. David Peralta's still on the market. Chad Pinder's still on the market. Tommy Pham's still out there. I don't know how interested they are in Tommy Pham. I know Preller likes him, but do you really want to bring Tommy Pham back after didn't he threaten Padres fans this past season when he was with the Reds? So I don't think they're going to do that. But Profar's out there, Peralta, Pinder. There's some other options. Andrew McCutchen, I'd be interested in having him as like the starting left fielder until Tatis comes in and have him be a fourth outfielder. I don't think that they want to have David Dahl out there in left field or Jose Azocar out there as the starting left fielder on opening day until Tatis comes back. So that is something that should be on their wish list. Another thing, acquire another starting pitcher. The Padres are interested in Johnny Cueto, according to Robert Murray. By the time you're watching this or listening to this, maybe Johnny Cueto signed somewhere. But as I'm talking right now, I think that would be a really good fit. This guy had like a 3.5 WAR this past year for the White Sox. He was able to stay pretty healthy. I don't think that you should be expecting Johnny Cueto, if he signs with the Padres, to be Johnny Cueto of old. But I think the Padres need another veteran starting pitcher that can make starts. And they know that this starting pitcher that they get will be healthy and can be available. Because Seth Lugo, it's not a guarantee that he works out as a starter. And what if they want him in the bullpen? Do you want to rely on Morahone, who hasn't stayed healthy his whole career? You want to rely on Jay Groom, who hasn't pitched in the big leagues before? Do you want to rely on Ryan Weathers, who sucked it up last year in AAA? I obviously hope he bounces back, but no, I don't want to rely on those guys. Pedro Avila? No thanks. That doesn't give me a ton of confidence as the 5 starter. And it's not a guarantee that Snell stays healthy or Musgrove. I think Musgrove's going to stay healthy. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was doing backflips with weights in the pool the other day. I have that video up on my social media, or just go look up, I think, Joe Musgrove's Instagram. But it's not a guarantee that starting pitchers stay healthy, so they need another one, at least. Another veteran starter. Evaldi's out there still. I don't know how interested they are in Nathan Eovaldi, though, because of the 2 draft picks that are attached. And is he worth giving up 2 draft picks, or do you just want to go get someone like Johnny Cueto and you don't have to give up those draft picks, right? Bogarts, he was worth it, right? You're giving him a long-term deal. You're paying him till he's 40. Okay, you'll give it the draft picks. But for Eovaldi, is that worth it? I don't know. I personally probably wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm not going to be like pissed off if they get Eovaldi, if they land him. But at some point, I think Preller's going to want to stop spending those or giving those picks away for guys that aren't elite talents. Like Eovaldi right now, I don't think he's an elite pitcher. And if you think he's an elite pitcher, I guess let me know, because I disagree with that. Zach Greinke's out there, but it seems like he's going back to the Royals. Michael Wacha is out there. Corey Kluber, I'd be interested in seeing him come to the Padres. He was with the Padres organization earlier in his career, obviously. So those are just some options out there. Another item on the Padres Christmas wish list should be no setbacks in the Tatis rehab. I don't know if you guys saw this, but on social media, there was a video out of him dancing. I think this might have been in New York or something. Maybe it's in the Dominican. I don't know. But he doesn't have his cast on, or doesn't have his brace, or whatever it was on his left wrist, or left arm. So that is good news. Doesn't seem like there are any setbacks, but it is a long off season, and we know it's Fernando. So they're just hoping there's no setbacks. He can join the team in spring training. He can start playing some minor league games while the suspension's still happening. And then he can come back on April 20th. I believe it's against the Diamondbacks. He can come back May 1st at home when Will comes back to San Diego, and it can be a absolute show at Petco Park on that day. That's what they're definitely hoping for. And it seems like Fernando's in constant communication with the Padres front office, with the Padres. They probably have some people more closely keeping an eye on him than this past offseason. And so obviously that's a good thing that you want to see there. Another item on the wish list, healthy seasons from Drew Pomerantz and Josh Hader. I could obviously say healthy seasons for every player on the roster, but these two guys in particular, because Pomerantz, he didn't pitch at all last year. He's stealing money from the Padres right now, right? If he's healthy, he can be a huge left-handed arm out of that bullpen. And now that bullpen's even deeper. Imagine if they have Lugo in the bullpen at the end of the year if he doesn't work out as a starting pitcher, or the Padres just decide to move him to the bullpen. Yeah, Robert Suarez, Josh Hader, Drew Pomerantz, Luis Garcia, Seth Lugo. That's 5 relievers deep. We haven't even gotten to other relievers that could have a pretty solid impact on this team, like Adrian Morejon. I assume he'd be in the bullpen, like Lopez, the Rule 5 guy they drafted. So if Hader and Pomerantz can stay healthy, Pomerantz definitely, and Hader, I don't expect him to come back after 2023. So for him to just lay it all out there, but for him to stay healthy all year. And if you have a Josh Hader like he was pitching at the end of this season, healthy all year long, I mean, watch out hitters in the 9th inning. Holy cow. He will be huge for the Padres. He will lead the league probably in saves. I mean, Edwin Diaz as well will be up there. But he might lead the league in saves for the Padres if he can stay healthy and he can pitch like he did at the end of this past season. So I'm hoping the Padres are doing their best to make sure those two guys are healthy for 2023. Another thing on the wish list, Seth Lugo and Nick Martinez. Let's hope they perform as starting pitchers in the rotation. Because if they don't, maybe that's good for the bullpen because they can be impact guys for the bullpen, but then you have 3 starting pitchers, and Snell, he usually starts slow in the first half. Sure, Lugo and Martinez could piggyback some guys, but you're going to be having more home start games, or you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on him. I know at some point it's like, okay, we need Adrian Morejon to step up here. He's been with the organization, it feels like, for a decade. But at some point you got to step up here, Adrian. But that's still putting a lot of pressure on a guy that has not been a consistent starting pitcher at all in his big league career. You're putting pressure on Jay Groom, who has not pitched in the big leagues before, or Ryan Weathers, who sucked last year in the minors. So it's going to be huge for Lugo and Martinez, or it will be if they step up and perform as starting pitchers. I think Martinez will for the most part. The bigger question mark for me is if Seth Lugo will step up, because he has not pitched as a starting pitcher consistently, and I'm not counting 2020 because that was like 7 starts. But he has not performed since 2017 as a starting pitcher consistently. And he made 18 starts. Is that really consistently? Like, we want starting pitchers to be making 25 starts at least, around that, right? He hasn't done that in his career. So that's a question mark. But wish list item there on the Christmas wish list, Martinez and Lugo, please perform as starting pitchers there at the back end of the rotation. Another thing, Manny extension. Get that done to prevent an opt-out after 2023. That might be even higher on the wish list than some of these things that I've already mentioned, just because of how huge Manny is for this organization. I think he should have won MVP in 2022. Everyone knows my thoughts on that. But what he can do, I mean, for the long term here, it seems like he wants to be back, but it is a risk letting him go into free agency and not getting a big deal done and giving him a deal he can't refuse. Because once it gets there, you know that a team is going to be desperate and offer him what the Padres offer Judge, offer him $414 million and pay him until he's like 44 or whatever they were trying to do there or thinking about doing. Now, Manny, if he gets there to free agency, maybe he does do what Judge did and say, no, I'm a Padre. I want to be a Padre. I'm going to be named captain. I hope that's what they do. If they get this extension done with Manny and they can avoid this opt out and keep him a Padre till he retires, through 40, 42, whatever he wants, pay that man, give him that contract. Maybe he does that and he goes to free agency just to get more money from the Padres. We'll see. But that's definitely on the wish list. I mean, I don't really have to go farther into that. I think we all know how important it is for the Padres to keep Manny because there are ripple effects if they don't. Yeah, sure. They'll probably be able to keep Soto then. Like, if they don't get Manny, then Seidler's going to go all in on Soto because you don't give up all that money, lose Manny to lose Soto as well. But Xander's going to go play third then. You have Tatis probably at short. What are you going to do in that outfield spot? And what are you going to do with Kim? You're just going to have him as a utility guy? Are you going to trade him? What happens if Grisham doesn't perform again this season? And you have Tatis have to move to the infield as well. You're not confident in Grisham. Now you have to fill multiple spots. So there is a ripple effect here if Manny does leave. I don't think he will, but that should be on their wish list definitely to get a contract rework done, renegotiate, get an extension done, whatever it is. That should be on the wish list for the Padres. A bounce back season for Trent Grisham should also be on the wish list. Just hit on him there. I mean, if he does perform, that's great for the Padres. They have their starting center fielder, one of the best 8-9 hitters in baseball, if that's where he hits, because of just how much talent is up at the top of the order. And if they want to trade him at the end of the season, after this season, or before the deadline, if they go bring in someone else, I don't know what their plans are. Obviously, we'll see what happens. But if he performs, then he has a higher value, right? If they trade him now, he's at his lowest value, which I think teams still value Grish with his defense and his potential, but they could get more back if Grish ends up performing, obviously, right? I still don't want to trade Grish. I want to keep him and because I believe in him still. We saw what he could do in the postseason, and I sure think that he's motivated to prove people wrong and prove doubters wrong. Some of them are Padres fans that, like, some people are doubting him, saying that he's not the starting center fielder. We need to trade this guy. He's going to want to prove those Padres fans and baseball fans in general wrong. So hopefully he has a bounce back season. I'm definitely rooting for him. And another thing for the Padres, they're hoping that the Padres fans show up. And of course we're going to show up. I think we will. But what happens if Padres fans don't show up as much as the Padres hope? Then they're probably losing money. But that's just what they hope for, like in the front office and Eric Grupner and Seidler and stuff. But Seidler, I mean, he knows. Why do you think he spent on Bogarts? And he's been spending all this money and bringing in this elite talent, giving Preller the green light on all of these moves. Because he knows if they acquire the talent, he knows that fans are going to show up. And so, therefore, he will make the profit, right? It's one thing if you bring in a star player or whatever and no fans show up because the team sucks because that one player's not enough. One player's not enough to carry a team because it's baseball. But you have a collection of great players. Hader for one more year. Suarez, Martinez, Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Manny, Soto, Tatis, Cronenworth. Keep going down the line. Bogey. Like, you have elite talent all around the team. This is like a super team. So fans are going to show up, but they still probably want to put that on their wish list because if they don't show up, then they'd probably lose money in that front office. But Seidler, he's probably willing to lose that money because he could gain it back in the postseason. And if they win a World Series, then I don't think he cares because he's trying to do something that's never been done in this city, and that is win a World Series.